run colder. I lead it, Persian, Steve, and Mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. From the first hot take to the closer. This our season now. Move over. Clock hit zero, that's pre-show pressure. 3 deep crew, that full court measure. I lead a Persian, flame on the mic, breaking down plays like he called that hike. Steve with the stats, the ice in the vein. Sees every route, every yard, every lane. Mr. calling future, seeing through smoke. Predictions hit hard like a safety stroke. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Run, let's go up, lights run colder. I lead the Persian, Steve, and Mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. From the first hot take to the closer. This our season now. Move over. Line 'em up. Who on heat? Who on heat? Saturday legends on the midweek scene. Who on heat? Kick off, talk till the sun goes down. New kings here, that's a title bout. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Run, let's go up, lights run colder. I lead the Persian, Steve, and Mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. Game time grind, say the name louder. This our season now. Full power.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new episode here on the Game Time Grind, here on 4th and 10U. That is right. It's another season, more power, as you heard it in the song. What is up, Steve? What is up, Mystic? How are we doing today?
Doing fantastic. Happy to be here. Can't wait to get to it.
Definitely. And for all those fathers out there, happy belated Father's Day, by the way. I hope both of you had a great one, either with your father or, if you have kids. Definitely, 100%. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You got Mr. Adam Padilla. How you doing, sir? Chef Jews in the house. Shout out to everybody watching at home. Join the chat. Come over to YouTube. Come to @4th and 10U on the YouTube side. If you're on TFTG side, that's awesome. But come over to @4th and 10U. We're like 15 away from hitting 100. We're going to have some awesome giveaways. I cannot wait. Subscribe if you're brand new. Turn on the notification bell. Let's go, man. Hit the like button. Let's go. What's up, Steve?
Not much, man. I'm doing good. I'm doing better than Brandon Sorsby. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be breaking down the brand new Sorsby news. If you remember an episode or two ago, we talked about the Sorsby debacle, right? So much going on with him and everything. And we thought he's finally going to get a chance to show what he has. And we projected all these teams. Come to find out, the NFL stood on their ground and said no. We'll definitely be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about some new rules with the NCAA regarding eligibility and aged eligibility. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to break down the Oregon Ducks. Yes, quack, quack. It's like Duck Hunt from NES back in the day. We're either going to hit them or they're going to hit back. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, make sure you hit the like button. Everyone, let's get ready. Let's have a good show, right? And also, a good friend of mine, let's give a shout out to him. Shout out to Magic Mike's Cards, right? If you're looking for any, NFL, baseball, basketball, even soccer cards, check out Magic Mike's cards, definitely.
Magic Mike's cards. Flip that back, let's go. Hands in the air, we're running this show. cut, shrink wrap, snap, name on the map.
Definitely check out Magic Mike's cards. You can check out Magic Mike on whatnot.com or Magic Mike Cards 3 on Instagram. Definitely check him out. Some amazing pools. You guys may have seen me talk about that Jeremiah Smith card that I have, the autographed one. He's the one that hooked me up, gave me a really good deal. Definitely reach out to him if you're looking for something specific. I really wanted to shout out to Mike. It's been a while. All right. Let's get it going, gentlemen. Let's talk about the Sorsby news, right? As we mentioned before, Brendan Sorsby had a ruling today. The NFL has declined to hold a supplemental draft next month and informed former Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby by letter, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Sorsby, who dropped his eligibility case against the NCAA last week, will now have to wait until next year's 2027 NFL draft, bearing any potential legal challenges. Sorsby attorney Jeffrey Kessler called the NFL's decision to not hold a supplemental draft a violation of the league's collective bargaining agreement and indicated they will pursue immediate legal action. It's a violation of the CBA and law, Kessler told On3's Pete Nakos. We will pursue this with the NFLPA immediately. Before we get into further details, what do you guys think? What do you agree? Is it, against the bargaining agreement? Do you guys kind of agree with that? Who's in the right? Do you think Sorsby and his group's in the right, or do you think the NFL is right for what they did?
Is this a classic case of two wrongs can't make a right situation? I don't know. I can't quite tell, but I feel like it might, align just with that, because if that's the case, and this really is in the CBA, the way that they're saying, and the NFLPA, and there's going to be a further legal action, it's hard to beat that if it's in there. But at the same time, this is the NFL. I mean, saying too bad, so sad. You're not beating the case that we know what you're up to, man. Again, it's such a bad situation for the kid, can't catch a break, but at the same time, is he doing anything to help himself catch a break, right? So, just a tough situation.
Yeah, what do you think, Steve?
I just don't understand how, because how it's against the CBA, because the CBA, the rules for the supplemental draft is pretty clear. It's up to the sole discretion of the league whether it wants to hold a supplemental draft any given year. It's up to the NFL. It's not like they said, oh, well, because Brendan Sorsby is available, we're not going to hold it now because we don't want to give him the chance to get in the league. No, they said, we're not going to spend, and let's be honest, it would cost them millions of dollars to host a supplemental draft for one player.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It is kind of interesting. I don't know if it is against the bargaining agreement or not, but I do believe this is a copy of the letter that the NFL sent. This is according to Albert Breer, by the way. This is a copy of what they sent. I'm going to read it to you guys because the NFL, I mean, in a way, I kind of feel like the NFL kind of took some shots at him, to be honest, in this letter. So let's actually read this. And actually, before I do, let me share my screen. Let's do that. I'll share this on the screen so everybody can see what I'm reading. All right, so this is Albert Breer. The NFL has declined Texas Tech QB Brandon Sorsby's application to enter the supplemental draft. They have obtained the letter the league sent to Sorsby to inform him of this decision. Dear Mr. Sorsby, We are in receipt of your petition for special eligibility dated June 16, 2026. An announcement earlier today, or as announced earlier today, the league has elected not to conduct a supplemental draft this year. Under our collective bargaining agreement, the league retains sole discretion to determine whether it is appropriate to conduct a supplemental draft in any given year. The league has not conducted such a draft for several years, and prior to your submission, the league has no plans to do so this year, as no other player has sought entry. Your petition filed 3 business days from the deadline without any supporting information or documentation, and only after abandoning your recent litigation efforts to avoid NCAA sanctions does not provide a basis for the league to alter those plans. The issue presented by the petition are too significant and too closely tied to the league's core integrity interests to permit meaningful review within the timeline presented. The sole reasons identified in your petition for seeking entry into the supplemental draft are that you have been declared ineligible by the NCAA, have exhausted all of your avenues to continue in the NCAA, and want to now play in the NFL. The petition provides no information regarding the basis for or timing of the NCAA's decision. Public sources, however, indicate that in May of 2026, the NCAA issued a determination declaring you permanently ineligible from participation in college athletics based on a sustained pattern of improper gambling activity during the collegiate career at 3 different universities. The league does not have the complete record of the NCAA investigation, and you did not provide any such materials with your petition. Available information nonetheless indicates that over the course of your collegiate career, you knowingly engaged in repeated and significant violations of NCAA rules designed to preserve integrity of athletic competition. Reported conduct includes placing wages on your own team and teammates and to avoid detection. Establishing a funding accounts in the names of intermediaries who placed bets on your behalf. There are also reports that you may have violated state criminal law. Your petition does not address these matters, nor does it demonstrate accountability for your conduct or indicate whether or how you would adhere to the league's rules and policies governing the integrity of the competition. Instead, even after receiving notice of the NCAA's decision rescinding your college eligibility in May, you sought to avoid consequences of that determination through litigation rather than accepting responsibility for your actions. And you pursued entry into the NFL only after abandoning those efforts. As Commissioner Goodell has emphasized, participation in the NFL is a privilege that carries with it significant responsibility, including accountability. By all accounts, you are a talented player with potential for future success. We encourage you to focus on preparing for the possible entry into the NFL through the 2027 NFL annual draft. And that was by Lawrence Farzani. Wow, gentlemen, that's I'm not gonna lie, the NFL didn't hold back. They slapped him in the face a few times. What do you guys think about what the NFL said?
I mean, don't they say, isn't it the classic case of like, sorry, but the truth hurts?
Yeah, for the most part. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, NFL basically said, yeah, we know you got suspended or you got your eligibility taken for gambling, not just, on other teams, but on your own team, on players on your own team, and by using a way and such that you did it under other names, which could be illegal depending on what state you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And then followed up saying, Yeah, and the only reason you're trying to get into the league now is because you don't have any other options, and we're not here to be your second fiddle, and we're not going to waste millions of dollars to implement a draft system that we have not implemented in years just for you.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of, it's kind of, what's the word? They really put the hammer down. You know what I mean? And it's not surprising, to be honest. If you remember, the wide receiver who played for Georgia, then played, I think he played for Atlanta for a hot minute or something like that, and then he eventually signed with Jacksonville. If you guys remember, they gave him a 1-year ban, right, just for making, I think it was a span of bets on like 3 or 4 different games. If you guys remember that. Um, it doesn't surprise me. The NFL has really strong rules against gambling, especially on your own team. And but what I think I'm more surprised about, to be honest, is more so that if you have this legal team and representation, why didn't that legal team or representation think of that before you put in your petition for the supplemental draft? Why didn't they think about um, the what the NFL could say? You know, why didn't they, you know, kind of like make it where he's taking the ownership of what he did? Maybe he makes a public statement before he submitted his petition. Why didn't they think of that? I mean, to be honest, Brendan, I think this is kind of like bad representation. They not only did they, you know, say no, they threw you under the bus for all the stuff you didn't do. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of feel like your manager or your agent and your legal team, they should have thought of all this stuff before they put in the petition. What do
You
you
know
guys
what's
think?
even funnier? Remember, he was supposed to enter the draft. He had the option. He chose
Considered
not
it.
to. He chose not to because the interest in where he was going to land wasn't there. Remember, because he's like, if I'm not going to be I don't remember if he put an actual name on it or like a actual round on it, but they said if it wasn't, if his, God, how did they word it?
Look, the
If
reality was is that people considered him to be a fringe first round talent, but it was only based off of 1 year. They needed another year of it to make him a true possible first round talent, right?
Well, the
And
argument I'm making is that they didn't. Like we as fans
mm,
and the media, we all saw him that way. But remember, his people put out the feelers before the draft to see
yeah,
if the league saw him that way, and the league didn't see him that way.
yeah, I agree with you. I was right there with you. I was just saying that's what the media and like the people doing an analyzation like we do, that's what they're saying, right? um the reality is that based on, okay, let's say I'm a third round pick, he probably looked at what his paycheck was going to be, and then Texas Tech came and handed him a steal of like a couple $1 million more than probably what he was going to get, and he's like, all right, I'll stay in 1 more year, right? It was for his benefit. um so it's just kind of interesting. Shout out to G2. I like his ad handle. Do you guys see that? Wing T G2. I like that.
Yeah,
Uh
wing to a G2.
yeah, Wing T. Shout out to Nene. How you doing, sir? Happy birthday to Chef Jew, by the way. Shout out to Chef Jew. Happy birthday to him. But yeah, I want to shout out to you guys real quick. What do you think, Mystic? Like, shame on his representation for not writing a proper petition? Like, what do you think? I mean, it, and Nene, you're in the chat. Nene, you're kind of a you kind of understand how these legal teams kind of work. Don't you think that they should have thought of this stuff when putting in his petition, not just put that oh, I don't have any more NCAA eligibility because they ruled against me and I want to play in the NFL now, right? You think they would put a lot more, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh boy.
What's going on?
No, just like if I'm sorry, but if he literally pretty much said in other words, what you just said, and his representation didn't help, kind of put some fluff in the cake, if you will. Like, oh boy, like, and then for him not to double check what's being sent and pretty much like okay it. And if he did okay that, man, this kid, he's got some rough times ahead. That's all I know, because that is wild to me, dude. Not, I got help. I'm trying to fix this. I've moved past that. That's a different part of my life. I'm stepping forward. I really want to be a part of the league. This and that, like, crazy, dude. Oh man, so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It is very, very crazy.
I guess the question comes down to, was it his team who put in the application, or was it him? And then the question becomes, why don't you have people there to help you do that if you don't know what you're
that's
doing?
kind of my thing. Like, I would assume he has people, right? Why didn't he have somebody do it? Because it sounded like he did it. Like, no offense, the way the NFL
Right.
wrote their letter, it really sounds like they were like talking down to him, like, "Oh my God, you wrote this like a kindergartner. Your petition basically just says this. It doesn't have this, that, and the other, and everything else." I'm sitting here like, God damn. So I don't know.
Cooked, man. You got cooked.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing just is bananas. Like it just like, and what's even funnier is like the NFL is like, we know why you had your eligibility taken from you, but then he had his
Mhm.
eligibility reinstated. But the
Yeah.
NFL still went, yeah, we know why you had it taken. Like, the, and then it turned around. The only thing, and the more I'm looking into it, his and again, there could be some law point that I'm just overlooking, obviously, because we're not lawyers. But I think his lawyer's reaching, because the only thing that the CBA, where it would be against the collective bargaining agreement,
Mhm.
is if the NFL said, "Yeah, we're doing the supplemental draft, but you're not invited." That's not what they said. They said, "We didn't have plans to do one, so we're not gonna do one."
Mm.
Because all the collective bargaining agreement says on a supplemental draft is if a player has eligibility for the draft but doesn't enter the draft, they can therefore be eligible for a supplemental draft. That's it. All it does is guarantee you have the choice to go to a supplemental draft if the NFL holds one. The NFL has not held one in 3 years, and they stated in their letter to Sorsby, we did not plan to have one, so therefore we are not going to have one just because you want us to have one because you had your eligibility taken. I think the NFL is being more than fair to him and telling him the reality. We're not going to bend over backwards for somebody who got kicked out of college football for cheating in a way that
Mhm.
disgraces football.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I remember the supplemental draft kind of having this kind of with a player that had some controversy behind him. There was
The Ohio State player.
yeah, he is an Ohio State QB. You're right. Terrell Pryor. Do you guys remember Terrell Pryor? Terrell
Yep.
Pryor was a 5-star number one athlete in his recruiting class, signed with Ohio State. People were like on cloud nine for him, and he had so much potential. And he was really good in college. And then they had the whole memorabilia scandal where they were selling their memorabilia for like tattoos and stuff like that. And Jim Tressel, shout out to Jim Tressel, the GOAT. Um, Jim Tressel basically kind of like looked the other way and he got caught lying about it or something to that effect, right? They end up, moving on from Jim Tressel. they released all the players that were involved. They didn't get to play again. And Terrell Pryor entered this supplemental draft, and they had nothing to say. They let it happen. No problem. Right? Though he broke NCAA rules and was, got his eligibility taken away and all that stuff. Now, granted, it's not sports betting. So I'll give it that. It's just that this is the last time I remember something like this. But go ahead.
Wasn't he suspended for 5 games too?
Yeah, like he was suspended. Like he didn't play the rest of the season. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like that was the last time there was a player that I know that was involved with the supplemental draft that had NCAA rulings or sanctions put against him, right? And the NFL didn't say anything. I really truly believe this is primarily have to do with the fact that it's gambling. They took a hard stance previously, and they're probably taking a hard stance now. That's probably what it's coming down to it. I don't think there's any way out of it. The only other thing that Sorsby can do now, and you kind of asked this question before, can Sorsby play in the XFL or USFL and still be drafted? You know what I mean? Because if he at least does, then at least he can put out another year of, good production, and maybe it'll help his draft stock a little.
Well, and I looked that up too. From what I found, it doesn't. There's no rule saying that he can't go to the XFL or UFL for a year.
There you go. So maybe that's the route he takes. You know what I mean?
It's funny. You know what it could cause though?
What?
If he had eligibility, it could have took his eligibility to do that. But he ain't got no eligibility, so
I don't know. All I know is that I will if he joins the Battlehawks, I'll be okay. If it's an XFL team that I like, it's the Battlehawks. St. Louis Battlehawks. Check them out. All right. Any final words about Sorsby before we move on from the never-ending debacle?
No, sir.
All right. Next up, and shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. Really appreciate that. And if you're not watching on the 4th and 10U channel, come to @4th and 10U on YouTube and watch from this channel and join the chat. We really appreciate it. We're trying to grow this channel. We're about 15 subscribers away from 100. We'll have for every 100 subscribers, we're going to have another giveaway. So make sure you share it with your friends, family, maybe your coworkers that like college football. Tell them to join the channel. We really appreciate it. All right. The NCAA have made some new rules that we're going to talk about. And let me bring that up. Just bear with me 1 second here. Here it is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm waiting for you to explain this one because I kind of got lost in all the framework of what they were talking about.
Okay, the NCAA Division I cabinet has unanimously voted to approve an age-based eligibility model. It's landmark moment for the NCAA, making a shift away from the model that allowed athletes 4 seasons of competition over 5 years with no age restriction. Right? So the age-based model calls for an athlete's eligibility clock upon initial full-time enrollment in college. So once they are enrolled and they're a full-time student, no matter what school they're at, it immediately, that clock starts. Okay. So that it's either at the time of their initial full-time enrollment or at the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday, whichever occurs earlier. So do they start school with full-time enrollment before their 19th birthday, or their full-time enrollment doesn't start until after their 19th birthday, whichever starts earlier, essentially. Okay. The cabinet's decision is not final until its meeting concludes on Wednesday. The age-based eligibility implementation will begin this summer. Recruits starting in the 2027 are age-based only. I'm pretty optimistic it's going to happen. NCAA President Charlie Baker told ESPN, mostly because the primary conversation hasn't been about the idea of an age-based eligibility model being controversial. A lot of people are familiar with it because they've dealt with it in other settings and they've understand the simplicity of it. The cabinet tweaked the age-based model in May after recommendations from stakeholders in men's ice hockey, men's basketball, and the service academies. Concerns had been raised in hockey because players are typically older when they enroll, having spent time in juniors or prep school. So that kind of makes sense. They're making it more age-based. So no, you're no longer probably going to see these players that are 9 years, like they should be a doctor, like the one tight end from Miami. You guys remember that? It was like 8 or 9 years. You're probably not going to see that anymore.
True.
Currently enrolled athletes with eligibility remaining after the 2025-26 academic year will be allowed to apply the age-based model or continue with previous eligibility rules, whichever most beneficial to that individual. That's really cool. So essentially, for people that have eligibility left that's currently in, they get to choose. You can either be in the age-based or keep what they have for now. The cabinet previously reiterated that for current athletes, any waivers regarding eligibility under current rules must be submitted by schools and conferences no later than July 31st. The age-based model is similar to an idea included in an executive order issued by President Donald J. Trump on April 3rd. So it sounds like this is kind of part of that Save College Sports deal, that kind of stuff where the government's kind of getting involved. I kind of like the fact that it's age-based, to be honest. Right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. How do you guys feel about it? Is there benefit? Is this benefiting the game? Does it change the game at all?
I think that's kind of my thing is like, there's so many different things we could talk about, I guess, with this. It's like, okay, so what's it at? How is eligibility determined right now for college football? What is the vast difference in the two, basically?
That is a good question. Let me look that up for a second.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of confused about, because you have your initial 4 years of eligibility, and then you have to ask for an additional year every year after, if I remember correctly. But I guess what I don't understand, are they saying that once you reach the age of 19, that 4-year window hits and there's nothing else you can do about it?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was kind of confused. I don't know. I don't understand. I just need to do more homework on it.
Under NCAA regulations, athletes receive 5 years of eligibility to complete a maximum of 5 years. This clock begins at the earlier of their initial full-time enrollment or start of the academic year immediately following their 19th birthday. The clock runs continuously with limited expectations: military service, religious, maternity leave, etc.
So I was correct. So the way I read it was right. The way it works now is, as of their 19th birthday, they have 5 years, and that's it. It's 5, not 4. So it's 5 years. It's it. No more, no less. Whereas I think currently you get 4 or 5 years, and then you can apply for more.
So I think essentially what this is trying to do is put a handle on a lot of players extending their college career, right? Because you get players that played, let's say they played 1 year and then they were injured for 2. Yeah, you get to play for 2 more years, but maybe you can get 1 more year based on a waiver of some kind because you were injured previously, right? So there's that option. But at the same time, you get some players that, they'll play, they'll be redshirted, then play for 2 games here, and then they because they were injured for the whole season, they get a whole nother year, and Yeah, next thing you know, you've been in the NFL for 8 years, or the college football, I'm sorry, for 8 years. So it's kind
But
of
what
different.
happens? I guess the question comes now: what happens with redshirt kids?
I don't know. I think once this gets finalized on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, I think we'll maybe get some of our answers a little bit more. But that was just kind of interesting topic, so I wanted to bring that up. The fact that they're making changes to
What
the
I
rules.
think we should do, sorry there, Ollie. What I think we should do is, since we kind of have a rough idea of what's going on here, I think after we get this ruling, we will have a follow up breakdown to kind of give the viewers and everyone a little more information on how this is going to affect college football. Because yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely, I understand it, but I think there's definitely some more dynamic here that we could all dig into. So we'll definitely do some more information. We'll get this figured out for you.
Yeah, 100%. I think that essentially is that we know what the gist of it is. It's being based on your age, and the clock is going to start immediately. What we don't have is the details, the deets, and I kind of think that's important to have too. So, but I just wanted to mention because it is a pretty big announcement, to be honest.
100%.
All right. Anything before we get started on our main topic with Oregon?
No, sir.
No, okay. Everybody hit the like button, subscribe if you're brand new, turn on the notification bell. Shout out to Nene, Chef Jew, G2, Colors in there. Who else is in there? Anybody I'm missing? I think I saw Daniel Barry Sports. Shout out to you, sir. Adam Padilla. So shout out to everybody in the chat. I really appreciate it. All right, let's get started with the main topic, right? We're going to talk about Oregon. Another massive year for Oregon, for that matter of fact. And I want to break that down for you guys. So let me bring this up here. I'm so sorry. So Oregon enters 2026 as a national title contender, right? Under Dan Lanning. This is like the third year in a row people talk about Oregon. They're going to do it. Is this going to be Oregon's year, right? After getting lambasted by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl 2 seasons ago. And then the following season, they end up losing to the champs, Indiana, right? Let's not forget that. Fernando Mendoza goes to Oregon and whoops them. It hasn't been pretty under the Dan Lanning. They've had a lot of hype. They just haven't gotten it done. But ESPN is listing the Ducks third in the Big Ten, projecting them near the top of the country with about 10.2 average wins is their baseline, right? Oregon went 13-2 in 2025, averaged 36.9 points per game, 452.2 yards, and held opponents to 17.9 points, and reached the college football playoff semifinal before losing to Indiana, right? So again, another year losing to another Big Ten team. What do you guys think? Don't break down the players, so to speak, but just in general, what do you think about the Ducks and what they've been able to do the past 2 or 3 seasons?
I think they're just a very consistent football program and what I guess you can expect to see from their team. I think the thing with them is I don't think they're capitalizing on the talent they have at times, right? Or their talent's coming up short, if you will, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I'm on the same kind of path as Mystic, right? Like the same frame of thought. They're a very consistent team. I mean, we had high hopes for them last year, and we kind of talked about it on here, right? We didn't expect them to blow out Texas Tech, and then look what they did in the playoffs, right? So I think they have now that again, we're not talking about players, but they lost some things, so they're gonna have to do some figuring out. But they got high hopes again. I do expect them to make the playoffs again.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Oregon's becoming one of those like how do they call that? Like a never ending merry-go-round of teams that consistently contend for playoffs and championships. That's what I kind of feel like what they are. They're kind of like the Ohio State, where they're always in the conversation. Even the years that Ohio State did not make the college football playoff, they were in the conversation at some point, right? So I have to give it to them for that. But that's what they kind of remind me of. I do think they are one of the top 3 teams in the Big Ten, to be honest. So it'll be very interesting what they do, and they do get another year of Dante Moore and company. So let's break down the position groups. We're going to start off with quarterback. I think at quarterback, that quarterback room is one of the best in the country. Not only do you have a potential first round draft pick, maybe a top 2 pick in Dante Moore, but you have another guy that could very well be first round talent in Dylan Raiola, right? Dante Moore enters 2026 as one of the top quarterbacks in college football and a legitimate Heisman candidate after throwing 3,565 yards, 30 touchdowns in 2025, while completing nearly 72% of his passes. Moore has evolved for a highly touted recruit into a centerpiece of Oregon's offense. His greatest strengths are anticipation, arm talent, and poise from the pocket. He throws one of the best deep balls in Big Ten and comfortable attacking every area of the field. While his backup, who, to be honest, we'll see if he stays here at Oregon. I think really Dylan Raiola has kind of made the mistake of going to Oregon without knowing for sure if Dante Moore was staying or not, right? But it's okay. I think he has a chance to maybe go far, maybe in the playoffs, or maybe win a Big Ten championship. So it'll be good for him. But Dylan Raiola, the former 5-star recruit, transferred from Nebraska and gives Oregon arguably the best backup quarterback situation in the nation. Raiola possesses elite arm strength, natural playmaking ability, while Dante Moore remains unquestioned starter. Raiola's presence protects Oregon from injury concerns and positions the Ducks well for 2027. What do you guys think about the quarterback room?
Everyone knows how I feel about Dylan Raiola. And just kind of his persona gimmick stuff that's just like meh. I think this might have been the best thing for him in the sense of he's not in Nebraska again. He's not under this tremendous pressure to make an organization that's, let's be honest, trash at football be something. And he's sitting behind a quarterback who's damn good at what he does in the sense of he can literally watch Dante Moore take this team this season and say they have a moment where Dante Moore has a one of those, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Maybe 2 interception, 3 interception game, and it causes them to, lose the season, right? That's everything for Dylan Raiola to see. This is how this team looked, and that's what not to do. I don't think he's had the ability to really learn as much as he needed to learn in college, and I think this could be huge for him. And when it comes to Dante Moore, I want to see that kid take another step. I think he has the ability to be probably one of the best quarterbacks, coming out this next year. But I want to see him take another step when it comes to these big games and really seizing the moment and showing that Oregon, they're here to be a contender, no matter who they're playing. Not they're you're running up against somebody that kind of gets you mentally thinking other things. Like, I don't know. I want to see his mental side just kind of come more through. So again, I like your point. Probably best quarterback room in football, but we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Oh boy. I think Dylan Raiola is kicking the dirt right now, knowing he can't transfer to Texas Tech to finish his transformation into Patrick Mahomes. No, but for real, I mean, Dante Moore as the starter there, it gives Dylan Raiola to sit behind somebody who's considered arguably him or Arch is going to probably be the number 1 quarterback taken unless somebody pulls a Mendoza, right? Like, Dante Moore was being considered a top 5 quarterback last year. And I think he needed another year to still continue to learn because the man's only really started like a full season last year with Oregon. I mean, he played 9 games for UCLA and 5 games for Oregon in 23 and 24, but he became the true starter for the first time last year. So I think he needed more big time moments to continue to learn those moments, right? So another year in college, I think that quarterback room is good. I don't think you can ask for a more talented backup like in on any team, right? I think anybody would be excited to say Dante Moore and Dylan Raiola are their number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think anybody would be excited for that. Just a more analysis on the Dylan Raiola front. You know, you mentioned taking another step in the right direction to kind of learn and develop his craft and everything. Mystic, I think you mentioned that. Interesting fact. So I don't. If you look at Dylan career's early life and recruitment and stuff like that, he never was able to really find a home. Dylan Raiola played prep football in Texas, Arizona, and Georgia, right? He played in 3 different states during his prep years, compiling nearly 8,500 yards passing and 88 touchdowns. Rated the nation's top quarterback in 2024's recruiting class by major scouting services. He initially committed to Ohio State, but then later committed to the Bulldogs before finally signing with Nebraska in December of 2023. And then just like clockwork, he leaves Nebraska at one point, and he was kind of, if you remember in the offseason, he was kind of like wishy-washy of where he wanted to go. A lot of people thought he would go to Texas Tech. They didn't want him. I heard LSU, he took a visit there. He also took a visit in Miami, ultimately ending up in Oregon, thinking Dante Moore is going to the NFL draft. And now he doesn't have a home again. So yeah, he could be the guy to watch for 2027. But the reality is, will he be at Oregon or will he be at another destination? That's my question. What do you guys think of that?
That's a good take. I think it could go either way. I think he could find himself out of there, but I also think he could find himself being that guy. But do you realize, like, I almost want to double check this. It's on ESPN, but I want to double check. But like, they have him listed as a sophomore, Dante Moore.
Yeah, because he was in the 2024 recruiting class. So 2024, he played in 2025.
It's showing him have stats in 23.
Yeah, that's why for 27, that's why for 2027, he has NFL draft eligibility at that point. So not 2027. I'm sorry, 2027. He has eligibility to be an Oregon starter. Like they think that's who the starter is going to be. So maybe he does find a home there. Maybe that's where his final destination will be for college football, and he stays there. That's a possibility. I just think it's interesting. He never really, found his home. And another thing that I found interesting, Raiola is actually the son of longtime Detroit Lion. What was his name? His dad's name was Dominic Raiola, an All-American center at Nebraska and longtime Detroit Lions player. So offensive lineman there. So very interesting. I don't know. It is what it is. We'll see, what happens with that. But looking not too far from the quarterback room, the running back room looks kind of energized. They're very young, but they're powerful. They have 2 guys, Jordan Davison and De'Aaron Hill Jr. Davison appears to be poised to become Oregon's lead back at approximately 240 pounds. He's already a 240-pound running back. He combines rare size with surprising burst and balance. He's difficult to bring down after contact profiles as a workhorse capable of carrying the offense late game situations. Oregon believes he become the next great Ducks running back. That's Jordan Davison. Very, very interesting. This guy's 6 foot. They're saying 240 pounds. I'll have to check that to verify if that's correct because, damn, that's a big boy. Let's see here. Playing style. Scouting reports describe Davison as a decisive physical runner with strong inside power at the burst to break outside runs. Valuators note his natural vision, contact balance, and ability to contribute as a receiver out of the backfield. Trying to see if I have any stats for him. Yeah, I don't really have any stats, unfortunately. The other guy, Dier Hill, brings different skills than Davison. He's quicker, more explosive in the space, and dangerous as a receiver. Oregon's offense is best when Hill is creating mismatches against linebackers. I kind of feel like he has that like H-back kind of effect where he can play receiver or running back at the same time. To kind of give you a little bit more about him, let's see here. As a true freshman in 2025, he quickly became integral to Dan Lanning's offense, averaging 8.7 yards per carry, scoring 5 touchdowns. He starred in the 30-24 overtime win at Penn State, totaling 94 yards and a touchdown. By 2026, Hill has established himself as a team leader and he was focused on becoming Oregon's every down back. If you look at him, he kind of reminds me of the way his body is. Let me find it here. He looks like a shorter version of Rams running back. Who was the Rams running back that played for the Rams for a while before going to the Atlanta Falcons? Do you remember who I'm talking about? I think he played for Georgia.
Not off the top of my head, no.
God damn it. What was their who was their last great running back they had?
Um,
Let me pull up his name.
oh my.
I cannot believe I cannot think of his name.
We're not
Let me tell
like
you in a second.
recently?
Not Cam Akers, not Malcolm Brown, not Darrell
Todd
Henderson.
Gurley?
What was his name? Todd Gurley?
Todd Gurley?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
He reminds me of him, but much shorter because Todd Gurley was taller, right? He was 6 foot or taller, I think. Right?
I don't remember how tall Todd
Because this
Gurley
guy's
was.
only 5'11. But if you look at him, the picture I'm looking at, he kind of looks like him. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Based on the fact that he has the speed, the balance, and can be explosive.
Well, he even adds a little receiving threat too. He had 137 yards on 16 receptions last year and a touchdown. He was averaging the same number of yards per reception as he was receiving.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think? What do you guys think?
I'm thinking Thunder and Lightning. I'm thinking that I'm seeing a whole lot of help for Dante Moore. There should be no excuses for this run game not to go, and allow him some time whenever they do pass the ball. Again, the more I look at things, and as we continue to go through it, and in this roster, there should be no excuses for this team, and I think that these running backs can both have huge seasons.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon had a 3-headed monster last year between Whittington, who went to Houston, Jordan Davidson, who you brought up, had 15 touchdowns last year, and then Dyer Hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're probably you see Davidson take the lead as the lead back, with Hill as his second, and then they brought in Simeon Price to be their number 3. So he's a transfer from Colorado. Oh, he was with Colorado and Mississippi State. So like they brought in a nice, I want to say veteran, but established running back to be their third behind 2 guys who, at least in Davidson, went off. Like we might be talking about him as one of the premier backs in this year in college overall, not just for Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 15 touchdowns, nothing to shake a candle at. Like that's the kind of stuff that got the gentleman from Notre Dame last year, Love, in the Heisman Trophy conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. In this, it's kind of interesting. We talked about explosive thunder and lightning, is what Mystic said, right? The wide receiver room is just like that. In fact, they're getting a boost with a guy named Evan Stewart, which I'm going to talk more about here in a moment, who's listed as the 2026 roster as a redshirt senior after transferring from Texas A&M. His return gives more a true wide receiver one if healthy, right? Jeremiah McLennan also appears on three's roster for Oregon. Overall received talent should allow the offense to stay explosive. So let's talk about Evan Stewart, because this guy, I'm not gonna lie, people are calling this guy the superstar. Not only is he explosive, and whatnot, when it comes to being on the field, but this guy already has one of the biggest social media followings I've seen coming out of college. 2.1 million followers on TikTok alone. Supposedly he's gone viral for his comedy and dance videos. So I hope that's not where all of his head is at, but I think this guy is going to come in and hit the ground running. He's an All-American college football player, Evan Stewart, and his social media personality, best known as wide receiver for the Oregon Ducks. Formerly a standout for Texas A&M Aggies. He became one of the top transfers in the 2024 portal cycle and remains a rising star in the NCAA Division I football subdivision landscape. Tell you a little bit more about him. He's 6 foot. Doesn't give me what his weight is, but he has his college career. Stewart enrolled at Texas A&M in 2022, where he immediately contributed as one of the team's top receivers. In 2024, he transferred to Oregon, drawn by the program's offensive system and quarterback of Dylan Gabriel. With the Ducks, Stewart's speed and route precision positioning him among the premier wideouts in the Pac-12. Well, it would be the Big Ten. And analysis project him as a future NFL prospect. That's what they're saying. Notably, just to kind of give you an idea about him, from what I'm seeing here is what they're saying. Let me pull this up here. Where did I see that? Here. He combines elite acceleration with advanced route running skills and can score from anywhere on the field. His return gives Oregon a proven veteran target and likely wide receiver one entering the season. The thing is that he needs to stay healthy. That's one con for him. What do you guys think of Evan Stewart in the wide receiver room?
Dude, so this kid definitely going to be my watch list for certified baller, because 6 foot, I found, obviously the weight I found was 170. That's what I saw being thrown around. Obviously, everything you want, great route runner. I'm double checking this one, but from what I can tell, this kid has 139 receptions, and over the 3 years he's played, 0 drops.
Wow.
So I'm putting him on the radar, and I would love to see him get healthy and have a huge season for Oregon, because he could easily turn into a top draft pick in this coming draft.
What do you think, Steve?
I think you're pointing out.
What are you trying to say, Steve? What am I pointing out? What are you trying to say?
No, y'all are pointing out Evan Stewart. I'm looking at Iverson Hooks, who transferred in from UAB, who had just shy of 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns last year. Like, they're talking, like, Evan Stewart's got a lot of talent, but Hooks, being more of a smaller receiver at 5'10", he's going to bring the burners for that team. He may end up getting more love just for that reason. People are looking at Evan Stewart. He's got a lot of talent, could be the true number one. Where's he at? And everybody forgets about Lil Hooks, who's just going crazy on deep post routes. And Dante ain't lacking no short of arm to get that ball down there. So I think they got a really good wide receiver room, especially since they brought in 3 freshmen this year and injected them into that room too. So they got some young kids that will probably be, shifted in throughout the season, especially Jalen Lott, who's a 4-star recruit. They get some burn on them throughout the season. They got a nice rotation of wide receivers. I like the room. I think they gave Dante what he needs.
One guy we didn't mention, Jeremiah McClellan. Jeremiah McClellan, he is a guy that they say has the most reliable hands in the room. He has excellent body control, strong hands, consistently wins contested catches. Just to tell you a little bit more about his playing style, he combines physical strength with fluid athleticism. His ability to separate from defenders, track deep balls, and gain yards after the catch make him a versatile threat in modern spread offenses as well. This is a guy that I think could make a name for himself. The only thing I don't like about guys like Jeremiah McClendon or Evan Stewart, or even they have another guy, Decorian Moore, who's another speedster, right? And they say his ceiling is the highest on the entire roster. These guys are only like barely 6 foot. They're like 5'11", 6 foot only. I like a guy that's more like 6'3", 6'4" type receivers. Those are the type of receivers I like personally. But otherwise, when it comes to athleticism, they definitely have a lot to play with. All right. Do we have anybody to talk about the tight ends room? I have one tight end that I would mention.
They got a 5-star recruit freshman. That's about it.
That was Kendra Harrison, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they have Kendra Harrison. They also have Jamari Johnson as well. Jamari Johnson, a lot of people saying that he might be a breakout tight end. He's 6'5". He provides a huge catch radius and became one of Dante Moore's favorite red zone targets last year. His spring performance has generated a lot of significant buzz for this year as well. Kendra Harrison, he's 5-star elite, like you mentioned. He has long-term NFL upside is enormous. The question is, how quickly can he adjust to the college game? That really would be the question for him. Anything you guys want to add to tight ends?
No, I think that group's going to be more, I'm being honest, I think there's going to be extra blockers. I think they might have some times you might see them get a couple touches, but I think there's so many playmakers from the running backs to the wide receivers that the last thing we're probably going to talk about this season is priorities tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's funny you say that, because it just sparked a thing in my brain. We talked about Jamari Johnson in our spaces earlier in last year. There was a lot of rumors going around that he might have actually been a better tight end than the kid who went into the draft this year.
Kenyon Sadiq?
Yeah.
Kenyon Sadiq. Like there was a lot of talk that they liked Jamari more, but they were trying to get Sadiq a better position in the draft. And like, this kid is an all-around tight end. He can block, he can catch, that he has more reliable hands. So I don't know. We might. I forgot all about him. I'm gonna be honest. You said his name, Ollie. It like that light bulb went off. We talked about him, so we'll see. I think that is a name to watch in that room.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a name to definitely watch, and I think he's going to break out this year. I can kind of see that happening. Let's move on to the offensive lineman. The offensive line.
See, this is the size share.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Mike. That was me.
Okay. Oregon's offensive line should be a strength. Our lads list key names such as Lapani Lalulu. I think that's how you say it. I apologize. At center, Dave Louis at guard, Michael Bennett III at tackle, while five-star freshman Emmanuel Iniacho gives the Ducks a future cornerstone at 6'7", 380 pounds. The biggest job is keeping more clean while Oregon breaks in some young talent. I do agree that that should be the focus altogether, is trying to keep everybody off of Dante Moore. Because I feel when you get in Dante Moore's face, he starts to falter, right? He doesn't like pressure at all. So I kind of agree with that. The big shout out is Mateo Ugalei. Oh, actually, he's on defensive line. Never mind. Where's my offensive lineman notes?
You know, we made a joke about Mike McDaniel, the Mike McDaniel joke about the Polynesian influence on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Literally 3/5 of their offensive line is Samoan or of some Polynesian descent.
Let me guess. Michael Bennett is not.
Dan Lanning is all about the boys.
Well, Seattle has a very big Polynesian community, though, so it makes sense, right? It's funny because like all the West Coast teams, not Seattle. What am I saying? Oregon, Washington state, state of Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona. All the West Coast states have a Polynesian community.
Not like legit. There's like 9 players on their offensive line that is of Polynesian descent. Like that dude loves his Polynesian offensive lineman. That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah,
get that Polynesian factory, man.
Definitely. But I do think the Oregon's offensive line is going to be a strength for them. Did you guys have anything to add to that?
I think this is going to be the part of the team that make or breaks where as far as this team goes, and if Dante Moore can take that step I talked about, if the offensive line turns into be the anchor that this offense needs, and they allow Dante to get through his progressions and open the holes for these running backs, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team when it comes to the offense. They have all the firepower, everything that you could want, top to bottom, score all the points that you want in college football. So, will the offensive line show up and allow their quarterback to take care of business? We'll find out.
Yeah, if people say you're only as good as your trench can carry you, both offensive and defensive. Any final thoughts on the offensive line before we move to the defense, Steve?
Yeah, I think the offensive line did well for him last year too. I just think Dante needs to work on his pocket awareness and how to handle playing through the pressure. That's all it is. Like you're gonna get pressured. But this offensive line is built like a Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. It's just a bunch of big dudes and standing in the way and doing their job. I don't remember last time I watched an Oregon game and been like, man, that offensive line just sucks. So I'm excited to see that offensive line put in some work again. They give Dante more than enough time. He just got to make the plays.
Absolutely. Well, where there's an offensive line, there's always a defensive line. This may be Oregon's best position group. A guy I mentioned earlier, Mateo Ugalele and Tetium Tiote, are both listed as senior outside linebackers, and both are viewed among Big Ten's top edge rushers. Tiote has reported 9.5 sacks in 2025, while Ugalele posted 6 sacks, giving Oregon's most dangerous two-sided pass rush. Inside, you also have Bear Alexander, Amari Washington, Aiden Breland, Dante Robinson give the Ducks SEC-sized bodies, right? A little bit more on their defensive line. Mateo Ugalele, he's the best defensive player on Oregon's roster and a potential first-round NFL draft pick. He's 6'5", 275 pounds. He combines elite athleticism with natural pass rushing instincts. He has already produced double-digit sack seasons and remains one of the most feared edge defenders in Big Ten football. Give you a little bit more about him. He's nicknamed Young Concrete. That's his nickname, right? He's praised for efficient movement, polished technique. Coaches highlight his versatility to rush with a hand in the dirt or stand up linebacker. He combines quick first step acceleration with disciplined edge control, enabling consistent disruption against both run and pass and the pass. Yeah, he's a guy I'm definitely excited for. Like I said, they have a two-headed monster at defensive line. I want to say this is probably their best group, to be honest. There's a lot of athleticism and a lot to offer on this team. What do you guys think about the defensive line?
I think Mateo is, uh, or sorry, is that how you say his name? I may have just butchered his name. Yeah,
Mateo is his first
Mateo.
name. Yeah, just call him
Mateo,
Mateo.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's still their premier. I was disappointed in him last year. He had a big drop off in his sack production and just play in general. I'd like to see him get back up into them double digit sacks like he had in 24.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, their defense gave them more than enough chances to stay in games, especially that defensive line. Like I said, if they can start generating sacks, that would be really nice. They added a nice young kid in Anthony Jones Jr., a true freshman, uh, who's known for his physical play. So adding more physicality to that room should hopefully help them.
Absolutely. What do you think, Mystic?
I think this. I think this defense again. Here I am talking about trenches, right, and the importance to it. I think this defense has some pieces, right? We're going to talk about them, but I think the ability. Man, say his name again. I don't want to chop his name up.
Just say Mateo.
There we go. I think he's going to be very important. I think this line and what they're able to do, whether it's make it short coverages for the corners or however you want to break it down. Again, this trench of the defense is going to show you if this is going to be a formidable defense this year, or if they're going to get put into some situations that I don't think their secondary necessarily wants to be there. Again, they got some pieces that are nice, but I want that. If I'm an Oregon fan, I want my defensive line to come out and really get after the quarterback. I think there's a possibility that we see someone on that line have, like a 10 sack season. I do think that's a real possibility. I don't know who that's going to be or what that turns out to be, but
Mhm.
there's a real possibility that there's someone on that line that gets that.
Yeah. It'll be very, very interesting, to be honest. The next position group, the linebackers, right? I would say out of the position groups for this defense and just this team in general, I want to say the linebackers are like the most meh position group. Everything else has been like, wow, they got a good offensive line. Wow, they got a good running back room. Wow, they have an amazing receiver room. One of the best quarterback rooms in the country. Wow, their defensive line looks amazing. And I'm at the linebacker position. And these guys, they have good football IQ. One or two of them are, have a lot of athleticism and whatnot. But it's not like, oh my God, this is the best room in the whole team, right? Linebacker room is experienced and athletic. Jerry Mixon is listed as senior inside linebacker. Devon Jackson is a redshirt senior. Dylan Williams gives Oregon another high upside option. Out of all three of them, Dylan Williams, honestly, is the guy that has the most upside to him. If he takes the right step forward, I think he has something he can really put on the table. The other guys, they're just coached very well. They know where to be. They know how to leverage their size and take, the correct angle. But they don't do anything that like jumps off the sheet to me. So if there's a position group that I would say is meh, it's the linebackers. What do you think about the linebacker room?
This is Dan Lanning betting on himself. He went out and he used the transfer portal and got weapons and offensive line, and short up all these other things. These guys in this linebacker room, this is the guys that he's been, developing, the underclassmen that he's saying this is their moment, right? So betting on himself that he developed these guys to be ready. I'm with you. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Sorry. I think that this group really is a big question mark. Do they have the intangibles to be great? Absolutely. Again, very athletic. They have length. They're very, very fast. Like it looks like they're even got the ability to be some sure tacklers when they need to be. It's how are they going to fit overall in the grand scheme of things? Are they going to, try to do a little too much and try to overcompensate, or are these guys, they've been around enough that they're just going to really just come in, fit in, do the job that needs to be done, and allow the stars on this defense to shine, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Steve?
I think it's like any other team. When you put so much effort into other things, there's going to be one weak room, right? And that's unfortunately that's their linebacker room. That's and I'm not even saying it's a bad room or a weak room. It's just that's the weakest room. That's the room that they've listen. Just do your job, stay in your lanes, and rush to contain the run, and then we can figure everything else around that, right?
Yeah.
So that's literally what they do. They rush. They keep their rush lane integrity. They play well when they need to play in their zones. They're not making plays, but they're not allowing plays to be made, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're essentially just holding it down. They're slowing the offense down. Essentially, is what they're doing. Um, for me, like I said, nothing really jumps off the sheets. I just think that they're coached well, and like Mystic said, Dan Lanning is betting on himself again. My only issue with this is that you can't in the Big Ten, because it is a run first league, right? You got to be very careful and really be sure you can bet on yourself. Very few coaches can do that, right? So you have a lot of big time running backs. We just talked about this running back room, right? That's really good. Where there's Oregon's running back room, there's also Ohio State's running back room. There's Michigan's running back room. There's, USC has a good running back room. A lot of these teams have very good running back rooms. Indiana, let's not count them out. I think they could very well be on to another good season next season. So the reality is that you just got to be careful in the Big Ten. You've got to make sure that you really have these kids coached up and ready for battle, to be honest. Let's keep it moving, though. In addition to the linebacker room, you have the secondary. For me, the secondary, you have a guy like Coy Perrick. I think that's how you say his last name, Perrick. Perrick was one of the most important transfer additions on defense. He arrives with proven production, exceptional instincts. He's a playmaker who consistently finds the football and should immediately be one of Oregon's leading tacklers in takeaways. That's what he should be doing. To kind of give you some idea, coaches and media describe Perrick as a relentless competitor with deep work ethic. When others go home, he's in the weight room. His performance in high-pressure games have drawn comparisons to past Gopher greats like Rashad Bateman. Off the field, he's known for a humble, humorous demeanor, often poking fun of his rural roots while expressing pride in his hometown. So shout out to him. But he went to Minnesota originally. I don't know if you guys know that. He went to Esco High School in Minnesota. He was a 2024 All-American Bowl MVP, multiple All Big Ten honors in 2025. His senior season included multiple interception returns for touchdowns and more than 700 rushing yards, drawing a scholarship offer from the University of Southern California, or USC. University of Michigan, University of Wisconsin before committing to Minnesota. Yeah, Coy Perrick is someone to watch out for. You also have Peyton Woodward. Woodward is one of the most talented safeties on the roster. You have guys like Trey McNutt, one of the most highly regarded defensive back recruits in the nation. And then Jet Washington. Jet Washington arrives with tremendous expectations. The 5-star freshman possesses elite athleticism, length, and instincts. That secondary room looks good. It's versatile. They have guys that can play all over, like Trey McNutt. You have guys like that I just mentioned. Coy Perrick, Peyton Woodyard is another guy too. What do you guys think of the secondary room?
I think you're spot on, and this is going with what I was saying. It's what are those linebackers going to do? You can't overcompensate because on the back end you got some talent back there. You got some safeties who can fly around, make some plays. I got my eye on this Coy Perrick transfer. I think he could be a very big part to that secondary. There's a corner we'll talk about here soon. I think he and in that corner, in my opinion, should be the two potential stars of this secondary.
Yeah, yep. Jet Washington, he's a guy I think he's going to come in early. What do you think, Steve?
You stole my thunder again. Jet Washington is built like Kyle Hamilton.
Woo.
And he's already pushing 215. He's 6'4", 215 at safety. He's a former basketball player that they converted to safety. He averaged 13 points per game as a forward, I want to say. But either way, I mean, he has the athleticism. He could even you could probably even use him on offense as a tight end. He has hands. Like this kid has night one draft upside according to what 24/7 Sports believes. Like he has all the tools. What you said about him being having high expectations, or like, what's the word you used? High upside. He might have the highest upside of anybody on that entire defense with that build and that ability. So we'll see. He's
6'5", 210 pounds. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? But I'm going to drop a fact about him that I think might make Mystics' ears perch up. Okay. Jet Washington has ice in his veins that are legendary. You ready for this, Mystic? He is the nephew of NBA legend Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant. He's the nephew of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's older sister, Sharia Washington. I think that's how you say her first name, Sharia. This is her son. So I thought that was awesome. Yeah, so I thought that was awesome, and I wanted to mention that real quick.
That's pretty sweet. I mean, I'll definitely be paying attention to him. Yeah, man, Coy Perrick's got 6 interceptions in 2 seasons, so he did have a 5 interception season. So it'll be nice to see what he can do in Oregon. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 24/7 Sports comparison for him was Nicky Manwari. They said,
really?
Yeah. So just their breakdown from Andrew Ivins, massive safety with elite athleticism that could end up as a new age Joker given all the alignment possibilities. Already pushing 15 pounds, is likely to eventually carry 225 pounds as he's got larger features and doesn't appear to be done growing. Got much more physical since he emerged in the recruiting scene as a young freshman and became a contact seeker. Positionally primarily in a 2-high shell at Bishop Gorman, he also got looks in the box and handling some slot coverage responsibilities. Can get on his horse and charge downhill like few others his size with rare gap closing speed. Will get a little too aggressive at times, but for the most part is a sound angular player that is quick to the trigger. Matches tight ends with physicality and length, tracks the ball well as his own defender, and can punish quarterbacks with his range and timing. Damn.
Wow,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And this guy had offers from everybody, all the powerhouses, Alabama's, the USC's, the Oklahomas,
I'm
everybody.
telling you, he's a guy to keep an eye on. I really, when we're going to be talking about Coy Perrick probably prior to next year's draft.
Oh
Probably
no, we're talking about Jet Washington.
Yeah, we're talking
I'm talking about Coy. Sorry, but if you're talking about Jet, then yeah, then holy crap, like what?
according
So,
to
yeah,
24, according to 24/7 Sports, he was the number 2 safety nationally, bro.
Well, he was the number 1 safety according to what I'm looking at on 24/7. They had
So
him as
what?
the 23 national
Is
player,
he their
number
free
1
safety?
safety. What?
Is he the free safety or strong safety?
He plays both. He played in a 2 high shell where he got looks at nickel and box safety.
See, that's crazy. They have two guys that they're gonna be able to just interchange. Like, oh man. I'm telling you, it's gonna come. There's gonna be probably two groups that we talk about, like, that as long as they take care of business, then yeah, I mean Oregon, again, we talked about at the beginning, there are gonna be no excuses for this team not to be a, 10-11 win team making a playoff run, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the analysis, though, I do want to break down the recruiting. Oregon's 2026 class is elite. On3 list deducts 23 commitments, number 4 national ranking, number 3 in the Big Ten ranking, and a 92.75 class score. The headliners are 5 stars Emmanuel Ehiko, Kendra Henderson, Jet Washington. I think that's the best one based on what we've read. Giving Oregon premium talent at tackle, tight end, and safety. Yeah, Oregon is definitely a team to mess with when it comes to the recruiting. I know they battle Ohio State a lot for a lot of these 5-star recruits, specifically at wide receiver, which there's another wide receiver I'm going to bring up when we hit the bottom line. But any thoughts on recruiting and what Oregon has been doing?
No surprise. I mean, I'll let Steve get into the meat and potatoes, but I mean, no surprise to me that they land a top tight end. They love their tight ends. Here he is getting some big offensive lineman. It looks like, holy smokes! And then again, having some defensive pieces, right? Obviously the wide receivers, but yeah, that's a Dan Lanning class right there. That just looks like what Dan Lanning likes.
Absolutely. Interesting factoid about the recruiting class, real quick, Steve. Only one player was signed from their state, from the state of Oregon. That's it.
Damn.
Go ahead. Everybody else is from everywhere else, but California is where they get most of their recruits from.
Did you see how big Emmanuel Anchor is? Iannaco, however you say his last name.
No, how big is he?
6'7", 380.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's a massive human being.
That's like a mountain.
That offensive tackle, that is a freaking mountain. Holy. Yeah, I mean, they brought in Jalen Lott, who I kind of brought up a few minutes ago. He was third in his position at wide receiver, 6 foot, 170. He's still kind of on the smaller side for a wide receiver. And then Anthony Jones Jr., who I also brought up at edge. He was a 4-star recruit out of Mobile, out of Alabama. He was 7th in his position. They loaded up on a bunch of 4-star recruits just as depth and young guys to really start developing and continuing their consistency. And just like they brought in the number 2 tackle, the number 1 tight end, the number 1 safety, the number 3 wide receiver, the number 7 edge, the number 5 defensive lineman, the number 7 safety, the number 3 interior offensive lineman. Like they went into recruiting and just laid the hammer down and found a lot of high-end talent.
Well, they definitely have a top 10 recruiting class, so it definitely matches up. With that, also they got a lot of talent out of the transfer portal. I know Mystic can't stop thinking about Koi Perick. Shit, he might even start digging a koi pond in his backyard in Iowa. So
Let's start naming them parents. You're damn right.
I told you that's what's going to happen. The story is massive on the transfer portal. It starts with Dylan Raiola giving Oregon a future QB insurance. Either if the QB goes down or if they need their QB for 2027, they already got their guy. Koi Perick strengthens the secondary. Dontre Robinson adds defensive line depth. On3 lists Oregon with 16 incoming transfers, while Yardbarker and Athlon framed Oregon as the 2026 title contender with some coordination transition risk. It's going to be very interesting. What do you guys think of their transfer portal and the business they've conducted?
I think they're. I think Dan Lanning is really finally putting himself in a position again where he's. It's not going to be, I think, a 1-year run. I think we see Oregon here having some really good, deep college football playoff runs probably for the next 3-4 years. I think he's going to. If he doesn't capitalize on this in the next 3-4 years, we don't see him raising that trophy, then I think we see Lanning out of there. But that's a conversation for another day. Right now, I think he's putting himself right where he needs to be and right where this team wants to be as a football program, as a powerhouse on the national stage, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What do you think, Steve?
I think Dan Lanning took that embarrassment of a loss to Indiana personally and said that shit ain't never going to happen again.
Well, he took it the year before against Ohio State. That game was ridiculous. They whooped the crap out of them.
And Oregon came back and got better, right? And I expected again for them to get better. Like, again, if you look at the guys, not just the transfer portal, but even just the guys they brought in their recruiting, right, out of high school, all of them have a very similar phrasing put to them. Looks for physicality. Like, they do not want to get bullied again. And I that's why I said earlier, I think Oregon's going to push for the playoffs again. And I think we could see a run out of Oregon if they can get their defense under control and be able to hold down the Indianas. I think they're going to be, because we know they can put up points. I mean, 59, 69, 41, 42, 42, 51. Like, we know Oregon can score. It's just their defense needs to keep it together against these better offenses. And they continue to do that and can find ways to score against those better defenses. Boy, Oregon can be a problem this year.
So you mentioned that they got better. I don't know if they got better because in 2024, if you remember, Oregon, they finished 13-1. They won the Big Ten championship. They got the first round bye and everything. And that was the season that Ohio State rocked them in the Rose Bowl with that first game and ended up winning a national championship. The following year, what happens, you look at Oregon and what they did this past season, they finished 13-2, but when it mattered most, they dropped the ball against Indiana, right? Indiana rocked them 30-20. Yeah, they won they got the season done. They barely, and I mean barely, beat Iowa, barely 18-16, right? Couldn't put points up against them. If memory serves me right, that Oregon USC game was close in the first half until they broke away in the second. And they only, you can say they got better, but we're looking at an Oregon team that allowed 34 points to James Madison. James Madison put up 34 points against Oregon. Granted, Oregon scored a lot, but they let a lot in their back end. I can't say that they got better. It makes sense that they got their ass rocked by Indiana, to be honest. That's just my opinion. I do think they are a Big Ten contender for sure. I think they're definitely one of the top 3 teams in the Big Ten. Are they a title contender? Right now, I'll say that they're a playoff contender. Are they a title contender? Maybe. But you look at their season, who do they have? They have Oregon, they have Oklahoma State, Boise State. Okay, those maybe are probably going to win.
Ohio State.
Say what? Say that again?
They play Ohio State.
Yes, at Ohio State, right? So they're at Ohio State. Let's see where else. They're at USC, and that's going to be a big game too. Look,
they start off against Boise. They go to Oklahoma, then they play Portland, then USC, then UCLA. That's their first 5 games of the year.
yeah, I gotcha. The game that I'm going to circle that you need to watch, because I honestly think that even if they walk away 3-1 against the first 4 games, let's say it's actually first 5 games. Let's say they're 4-1 in the first 5, right? And that one is against USC. The next game that could be one of those games that they lose, and every time I say this, it ends up being a close game. Illinois. Illinois is one of those teams on any given Saturday can make it happen, right? So watch out for that. But they do have a little bit of a tough schedule. They finished their last 4 games against Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and then Oregon. Actually, not Oregon. I'm sorry, Washington. Those games are all going to be tough. We'll see what happens. But I'm kind of I think they're going to end up finishing a season at like 10-2, 11-1. I'm kind of somewhere at that point. I do think they're a playoff team. I just don't think that they're a national championship team at this point. Now, that can change during the regular season. Indiana changed my mind, so who knows? But that's my take on the projection. Any other takes on the projection?
No, I'm with you. I want to see. I want to see them actually, come together and get chemistry as a unit. I mean, they have all the talent, in my opinion, that you need. You have all the offensive talent. You have a defensive line. You have a talented secondary. You got linebackers who've been in a system that understand how it should be ran. So, will they have some moments to maybe some shortcomings or have to learn in the game? Well, yeah, that's how this whole thing works. It's will they be able to overcome that from a game to game situation and grow through the course of the season?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there's a real possibility. But yeah, I mean, those first 5 games, as much as Oklahoma's been weird the last couple years, I mean, how do we know Oklahoma is going to give them a random run for their money second week of the season? Like, there's really some interesting tidbits on there. I do think that the USC game is going to be very difficult for them. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to that Ohio State game, I think that'll be the all tell about that team. If they can go toe to toe and keep it close and not give up a landslide of points to Ohio State, then yeah, we can say they got better and they're a contending team. But I could see that game also getting away from them real quick if they don't protect Dante Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think the key to them is protecting Dante Moore. You have the weapons. It looks like on paper you have the running game. I still want to see that in action. My only question, the only group that I said that was meh was really their linebacker group. It's nothing to brag about, but their defensive line and their secondary is loaded with stars on top of it. There's a lot of young talent on this team. Let's see what happens. Plus, this is technically, you want to call it, in NFL, we call this a contract year, right? This is kind of a contract year for Dante Moore. This is the year that he has to put it all on tape for the draft. He arguably could be one of the top 2 picks in this draft for 2027. So, I hope he puts it all on the field. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But let's hit the bottom line. Welcome to the bottom line. This is our final takes of the night. Man, we broke down Oregon. We talked about the Sorsby information, the new aged eligibility. The NCAA has decided they want to be ageist, no longer old timers playing in college football anymore. How dare they? Just kidding. But no, it's going to be an interesting rule. I'll have to look more into the details and how they are going to enforce it and what's what with that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some commitment news. While now this is not a Ohio State podcast at all, I do want to shout out to Ohio State in wide receiver U. They got a new commit for 2029 already. People are like, we're already talking about 2029. 2028 hasn't even happened. 2027 isn't here. Well, in recruiting news, they're like 2-3 years ahead. That's how fast recruiting moves. But they have gotten the commitment of Austin Miller, 5'5", 200 pounds already as a wide receiver. Just to kind of give you some analysis of him. Let me bring that up here.
5'5", yes. 200 pounds is crazy.
Yeah, 6'5", 200 pounds. 6'5".
Okay, yes. I was about to say.
I thought you said 5'5",
200. Holy smokes! No. This dude's about to be a baller.
6'5", 200 pounds. Miller has emerged as one of the premier prospects in the class of 2029, thanks to his rare combination of size, athleticism, and maturity. He possesses the frame college football coaches covet at wide receiver position, but his physical tools are only part of the equation. What separates Miller is his approach to development and his willingness to trust the recruiting process rather than rush a decision. Miller and his family focused on finding the right fit while allowing his game to develop naturally. So that's kind of interesting. More about him. I don't know if you see this kid's picture and you look at Jeremiah Smith, these guys look like clones, bro. Did Jeremiah Smith like put a new name on himself and get re-recruited to Ohio State? Because that's what this guy looks like. I haven't looked at his video yet. I need to watch his video of his play. I've read a lot that he has a lot of athleticism and physicality to him, being 6'5", 200 pounds. So I'm excited to see, but it's really interesting. You know, I will definitely have to see, you know, how he's going to fit this program. This is arguably Jeremiah Smith's last year. So, you know, then you have Chris Henry Jr. But who's going to be next to Chris Henry Jr.? Is this the next guy? That's going to be the question. So I just wanted to bring up recruiting news. Do you guys have any news you want to update everyone on as well?
I don't have any like crazy news. I think I just want to say, you know, guys, me and Steve, we really try to give you all the other information we can, but you know, in disguise, this really is an Ohio State podcast. No, I'm just kidding. No, shout out to Ohio State continuing to maintain their level of wide receivers that they bring into to that program. You know, definitely could be the next guy for you. I don't really got anything else, but I appreciate everyone taking the time to be with us tonight.
Absolutely. I do have something else, but go ahead, Steve. You go first.
I don't have any news. All I have to say is OHIO South.
For people that don't know, tell them what that is.
USF is Ohio State South, baby. We getting all the leftovers.
Oh, the leftovers. Hey, sometimes leftovers are the best thing, to be honest.
Hey, so listen, when all you do is recruit 4- and 5-star recruits, some of them start to leave and go other places to get starting time. That's all I'm saying. I'll take it.
Absolutely. I have a question for everyone in the panel as well as everyone at home. True or false? Will Indiana win the Big Ten championship again this year? True or false?
True.
Mystic says
False.
true. What do you think, Steve?
False.
False. Okay.
think
Let's
they
see what
lost.
everyone else at home thinks. Ooh, we got EM in here. How you doing, sir? Ooh, EM taking shots at Mystic. Mystic is trash.
Yeah, I said
Damn.
it must have come from a Wemby fan. It's fine.
I'm not starting at EM. You don't need to send me any DMs. Send them to Mystic. He needs them, I think. So thank you very much. But no, I'm going to go ahead and say false as well. I don't think they win the Big Ten championship again this year. Not because of their schedule, but who's not on their schedule. You heard the term iron sharpens iron, right? They start the season with an interesting team with North Texas, right? That team's kind of interesting. There's been some names that have come up with North Texas, but then they have Howard, Western Kentucky. I have talked a lot about Northwestern. I think Northwestern could be something this year, back due to the fact that who they brought in as their offensive coordinator and some of the names that they've got in recruiting. But I still think it's too early for them. They're in Northwestern's one of those transition teams that have some potential, but I don't think their potential will come till later in the season. Then they follow it with Rutgers. Nebraska is in disarray, to be honest. If you look, Nebraska was one of these teams that they thought they were going to be the top of the Big Ten. They were, it was a breakout season. Dylan Raiola, they had everything they needed, the coach, the recruiting, the money they spent in NIL, only to find out that it fell apart. And Raiola ended up leaving, cried his way to Oregon and whatnot. But then after that Nebraska game, it is kind of grueling. They have Ohio State. They have Michigan. They have Minnesota. They have USC, Washington, Purdue. Washington, USC, Michigan, and Ohio State. Those 4 games alone are going to be tough. Minnesota has the ability to play tough when they want to. I just don't know if they have the quarterback to really beat Indiana. So a lot of these games, especially in that 4 or 5 game stretch right there, I think it's going to come down to Cignetti and his coaching ability, not so much with the talent that they have on that team still. Not saying that Indiana doesn't have talent. I just don't know if they have enough to win the Big Ten. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
I think, what didn't change? The coaching staff and Kurt Cignetti. And I think that is what I've been telling everybody, and I'm going to continue to stand on it until I'm wrong. I said that Kurt Cignetti is going to be the next great thing in college football and or potentially the next dynasty. So I'm telling you, I expect Indiana to be right there again. This is he's that guy that, like, in 2 or 3 years, people are going to be like, I'm tired of hearing about Kurt Cignetti because he's going to have Indiana being that good. I'm telling you guys now, and I'm not moving away from it.
My problem is how absolutely insanely difficult it is to win 2 national championships, win 2 Big Ten championships, to be able to do that back to back. I have no questions if they're going to be a good team. They're going to be a good team. I just think they lost their quarterback, and I think that they lost a lot of seniors, which was a good makeup of their team. They were, I think we did the math or looked up the math, and weren't they like the oldest or second oldest team in college? Like, I think it's very difficult. I mean, we haven't had a back-to-back winner since Georgia in 21 and 22, right? So I think it's way too difficult to do, and that program's still young under.
They just lost 2 starting running backs, 2 really good starting running backs. With Black and what's his name, Hemby. Both of those guys are gone, right?
Their starting wide receiver unit is completely gone.
Yeah, starting wide receiver unit and their starting quarterback is gone. Granted, they did get a good transfer portal pickup in quarterback position, but you're betting on the odds that the guys that you brought in to replace all these positions are going to be just as good. I don't know if they're going to be able to be just as good without a Fernando Mendoza type of athlete. We'll see. We'll definitely see. But I think Indiana is going to be one of those teams, competing for a Big Ten title again. I do have them doing that at least. You have Ohio State, you have Oregon, you have Indiana, and then you have USC, which we've broken down and talked about as well. Those are the 4 teams that I think are really going to be there jockeying back and forth for that top position, to be honest. There was one other thing. You mentioned Cignetti, Mystic, that I want to bring this up. Ryan Day currently is 82-12 as a head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let me bring that back up again. 82-12. He has an 87% winning percentage. I don't think anybody else in college football has a higher winning percentage at the level that Ryan Day does in a power conference like SEC or Big Ten. I don't think anybody does. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Conference record, he's 53-7. Right? If for whatever reason, let's say Ohio State has that knock it out of the park year, Jeremiah Smith goes out in glory, Julian Sayin goes out in glory, they win a national championship, and it would be second national championship for Ryan Day. Do you think your thoughts of Cignetti being the GOAT, is it still there? Or do you think Ryan Day has put a stake at that position?
No, I mean, the Big Ten he resides in Iowa, and his name is Kirk Ferentz. He's the winningest Big Ten coach in the history of Big Ten. So that's the Big Ten go. But, if they want to get to the gates, then yeah, I think they could be gate holders for sure for old Ferentz, for sure.
Gate holders. Damn.
No, sorry, I was having a homer moment there.
I get you. But you see my point, though. You see what I'm saying? You remember
I think it's early. That's why, I'm with you. I hear the stats. I just think it's early for Cignetti for his stats. I mean, what? He's been in the Big Ten, 2 seasons, 3 seasons? 3 seasons now?
That's true.
It's still early for him.
All I know is the Big Ten pushed out the best coach that was in the Big Ten because they were scared of him. They had to send him south. That's all I
know. No comment on Brian Hartline. Again, you wanted someone else's leftovers. Go ahead. Look. The reality is that we've discussed on this show. We broke down the top college football head coaches in college football from the number 1 to the number 10. Right? We've talked about it, and we said that Kirby Smart and Ryan Day and Curt Cignetti had the top 3 positions in any order. It would be acceptable, right? I want to say right now it seems like Curt Cignetti has it because he did something unbelievable with Indiana, right? So I have to give it up to them. But, and this is the big but, Ryan Day has won a lot. And I mean a lot, even more than Curt Cignetti, at a very high level in one of the most toughest conferences of the Big Ten versus like the SEC or something. For me, it's more like, if he wins one more national championship at some point, do you think there's going to be a bigger gap between Cignetti and Ryan Day, or do you think they're just going to be jockeying positions left and right?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, if Ryan, if Day wins another one, I think it's easy to solidify him there, and then it's like there's a gap. There would be a gap from him to Cignetti.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how big you put that gap, but then I think from there, there might be the biggest jump, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Steve, any final thoughts on what we were talking about, like when it comes to Ryan Day and who the goat is, essentially? I'm looking at the fact that he's won so much and has an 80, what did I say, 83% winning percentage? No,
Yeah, I
87%.
mean,
Yeah, 87%. That's even higher. So that being said, he wins another national title. Is it going to create a huge gap between him and Signetti, or can Signetti still have the distance and like go back and forth with him?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think that gap's that big. Even if he wins another championship, because the thing is, like, yeah, you're winning championships, right? But Ryan Day's doing it with a program that's again he built. I'm not don't take it as I'm taking anything from him, but it's a program that's got 5 stars out of the wazoo, right? He's bringing in the best. He recruits the best. He's it like Ohio State has that. Kurt Sinetti's on year 3 or is it year 2? This will be year 3 with Indiana, right?
I think this will be year 4.
Okay, year 4. In 4 years, he took a program that's never done a damn thing in its entire history and made them a national champion. So, from a coaching perspective, I think Sinetti has shown that, like, if you put him, let's say they switched roles, Ryan Day and Kurt Sinetti switched, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Sinetti went to Indiana, and Ryan Day went to Indiana, and Kurt Sinetti went to Ohio State. I think Ohio State would still be as dominant, and I think Indiana would still be a really great football team as they have been the last 2 years.
That's a fair assessment. For me, let's take away the winning percentage and take away the 5-star recruiting thing. Let's take that away and look at it as a coaching perspective. Not only did you have to find a way to stay competitive and win a lot during this whole time, we're talking about a coach that has had a hard time beating Michigan. What was it? 4 years in a row we didn't beat Michigan, right? You had that going on. You still won a national championship, and he's had like 2 or 3 seasons back to back to back where he's had to replace the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and now the offensive coordinator again, right? And still be competitive, right? He's had to face all of those challenges year in and year out, and we haven't had. You mentioned all the 5-star recruiting, uh, you know, wide receivers and talent that we have on the team. You might be right. We do have a lot of good talent, but I don't want to say that they're all 5 stars because we don't even have a top 5 recruiting class. We haven't had a top 5 recruiting class, I want to say, in the last couple of years. Actually, let me look at when the last time Ohio State had a top 5 recruiting class.
I mean, for the last 2 years in a row, they brought in the #1 wide receiver recruit in the entire country.
Yeah,
Like,
but
that's
that's
what I
one
mean by
player.
that.
You know what I mean? We just talked about a team that you could argue has the #1 safety in the entire country, Jet
Yes, you
Washington.
can.
That's Oregon. Oregon. Remember that name, everyone. Jet Washington has ice in his veins, has legendary blood in his veins, legitly. Okay. May he
And
rest
again, but
in
that's
peace.
the point I'm making, though. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying, and again, that's why I said I'm not taking anything from Ryan Day,
Mhm.
and because I believe he is the soul of Ohio State's ability to do what they're doing with their recruiting. Like you and I have talked about this a number of times already. Like that,
Mhm.
his ability to recruit is great, right? So for me, I find them very close from a coaching perspective. Now, building a program, both of them did it, right? I would say Sinetti started with a trash can and made it into a diamond somehow, right? And I give
Mhm.
him so much credit for that. Yeah, did he buy his way into it? Kinda, with a bunch of seniors and figuring it out. But he also brought in a quarterback nobody was talking about. He did anybody talk about Omar Cooper before this year?
Yeah.
No, but they made Omar Cooper. I believe he ended up going in the first round, right? Or was it second? I don't remember, but a top 2 round wide receiver. Like I give a lot of credit for that. That my whole point is take away the 5 stars, take away all that stuff. I think they're very close as head coaches, and that was the point I was trying to make.
Mm. Yeah, I see what you mean. I guess Ohio State has had some good recruiting classes the last couple years. I guess I was wrong. Like 2026, it didn't feel. I don't think it was a true top 5 recruiting class. I thought we were just like top 10, maybe top 7, somewhere around there. But I guess it was a higher recruiting class. Indiana is known now. They're going to be able to get 5-star recruits, right? I think the only thing that separates Ohio State when it comes to the recruiting is they know how to spend their money well. They manage their money very well to be able to bring in top talent year in and year out. So I definitely agree with that. But I've seen Ryan Day with lesser talent than this team that they've had. I saw him prior to Jeremiah Smith, prior to Bo Jackson, prior to Julian Sayin. And you know, they didn't always have the best defense at all, but still found a way to win, conference championship or be in contention for a conference championship each year. So that's kind of where I'm at with them. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited for this year, to be honest. I want college football to start tomorrow, to be honest, because I'm excited for a lot of these teams. Everyone hit the like button. We've been breaking down Oregon, breaking down players across, in on every team. This Thursday we got Ole Miss coming up, so be on the lookout for Ole Miss. We'll be breaking down their team, and we'll probably be releasing that video on Thursday. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. Any final thoughts before we let everyone go?
No, sir.
All right, Steve, you got anything?
I just ask, please, everybody, share this everywhere as you can share it. Hit like, subscribe. We really want to build this up so we can give back to y'all. It's as much as fun as if we're having. We want to have fun with all y'all. With more subscriptions, the more card packs and stuff we can give out, the more maybe we can get into other different prizes for subscription counts, right? Like we want to have fun and have fun with all y'all at the same time. So just share it, like, subscribe. It's all free. We don't ask for nothing else. And we appreciate everybody who keeps showing up every week to show the love.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everyone have a good night. Till next time, we'll see you then.